Okay, so good evening, everyone, at least the ones in Israel. Good afternoon in the States. Can you hear me, Moshe?
Yes, very well.
I can hear. Okay, so I'm happy to open the last session of this conference on innovations in digital Jewish heritage studies. This session, entitled Mapping the Jewish World of Late Antiquity, includes one paper and one response. The paper entitled Alma, Comparative and Analytic Framework for the Ancient Jewish World from a Geo-Historical Aspect, will be presented by Professor Eyal Ben-Eliyahu and Dror Elovits. Professor Ben-Eliyahu is the chair of Jewish History Department in the University of Haifa. He has dealt extensively with ancient Jewish geography, mainly with what is called cognitive geography or mental geography, and has published 2 books on this subject. And in the past few years, Professor Ben-Eliyahu has been working on a digital atlas of the ancient Jewish world, which he will present here. Dror Elovits is a computer expert and is the IT manager of the Digital Atlas project and is a master's student of general history at the Haifa University. Professor Hayim Lapin from the University of Maryland is a director of the Meyerhoff Center for Jewish Studies. He has dealt extensively in the Jewish history of late antiquity, including in matters of geography, a book on the economy, geography, and provincial history of late Roman Palestine, and an important paper on rabbis and cities in late Roman Palestine. And he is currently working on a new annotated translation of the Mishnah. So we will start with Professor Eyal Ben-Eliyahu and Dror Elovits for about 25 minutes, followed by a response by Professor Lapin. Eyal.
Thank you, Uzi. Try to share. Okay. Okay. What is Alma? Alma is a site dedicated to the spatial analysis of literary sources and archaeological findings relating to the ancient Jews and Judaism. As a matter of fact, Alma is a tool for scholars, which are interested in many disciplines, as you see, text study, archaeology, religious studies, and other issues. It's supposed to serve academic scholars and also the general public. What was the motivation to build these projects? As you all know, at the 19th century, the scholars that dealt with this material, they knew everything and they had the access to all kinds of sources and the ability to read all kinds of sources. But their everything was much less than what we do have today. And we have a lot of material. And some of the scholars and some of the people from the general public don't have the access to find the sources, to read them, and to locate them on a map. Alma is also supposed to serve scholars and to save their time or their efforts. Our scholarly chair spent a lot of time and efforts to write a wonderful appendix to Midrash Kohelet Rabbah, Ecclesiastical Rabbah, about the geography of Ecclesiastical Rabbah in the land of Israel. Here, we have a tool that if it will work in one click, you can get the map. This tool is going to allow scholars to work and to examine historical and spatial subjects relating to the history of the Jews in antiquity. As you see, it's from the 4th century BCE to the 7th century CE. We hope that we can check local Jewish identity against general shared Jewish identity and other issues. The knowledge is based on 5 branches. The first one is the Second Temple era literature. The second branch is all the rabbinic literature. The third one is the early Christian literature. We already started with the Roman and Greek literature and papyri, and also archaeological findings. We still have challenges. We are work in progress. We are in error. The site is working as we will see, I hope so. But we still have to find a way how to integrate archaeological discoveries and findings. We heard at the beginning of this conference about the vision of Pelagius and the way that in Pelagius they put archaeological findings, and it gave me a lot of ideas. But we still did not integrate yet the archaeological findings. We must improve the level of validity and to sign the level of validity of sites. Are we sure in this identification of the site or not? We also have places with dual or even triple identification, like Aspamia, or multiple suggested locations like Asia. We are now beginning to characterize the references itself and to make it able to do cross-sectional research, as we'll see. This is the beginning of the tagging and characterizing the sources and the places that we are presenting in Alma. So I think that here we'll go to the demonstration. We will try to do it on the site itself. So we'll stop share this and we'll try to call the site. Here. Here. So we will try to use Alma in different levels. We'll start with one place, one location. We'll look on Alexandria. We can type Alexandria in Hebrew or in English. Here we have the location of Alexandria, the identification of Alexandria and the location of Alexandria. And if we will click on Alexandria, we will get reference to Pleiades. Pleiades is a wonderful site. We heard a bit about Pleiades at the beginning of the conference. Pleiades is a site which is presenting all the Greco-Roman material about the classic, related to the classic world. The problem with this wonderful site and others like Darmok, the Digital Atlas of McCormick from Harvard, is that they are not presenting or not give references to sources, to Jewish sources. Not only to the rabbinic literature, also to archaeological findings relating to Jews. And I hope that Alma will fill this gap. Anyway, we have here a link to Pleiades. That if someone wants to learn about the classic material relating to Alexandria, I can see it in Pleiades. But our site is supposed to give all the references and also quotations from the rabbinic literature. We have here the form, Alexandria, me Alexandria, and we have two kinds of references. The first one is to Ma'agarim. Yes. And we have the source from Genesis Rabbah in Ma'agarim. It's a wonderful source. Tiberia Leshem Tiberius, Alexandria Leshem Alexandrus. And if someone wants a bit more friendly quotation, so he could go to Sephariah and get the same source in a bit more friendly form. We already have here all the references to the rabbinic literature and also to the Greco-Roman material. Here, you can see all the Greco-Roman material. We still have to fix it because it's written here Sephariah, but it's supposed to be Perseus. We still have what to do here because all these references are to material that mention Alexandria in Perseus. We still have to filter the sources to sources that deals with Jews, that concerning to Jews. We are on our way to do it. We have the method of how to do it, and I hope that we'll do it soon. Meanwhile, we have here all the references to Alexandria in the Greco-Roman literature. At the end, we have also the material from Tübingen Atlas, which mentioned in Alexandria a burial place and a representation of menorah from Alexandria's synagogue. But we hope that in the future, we will have here also reference to the reference and bibliography for this material. So this is the basic level of looking for a site. But if we are looking to maps according to corpus, according to source, we can look for all the places mentioned in, let's pick Tanaitic composition. Let's go to Sifrei Bamidbar. We'll pick Sifrei Bamidbar, we select it, we add to the query. And here we have all the sites from Sifrei Bamidbar. If you will look for, you'll find mistakes here. So we have already a place to feedbacks and way to corrections of the people that are using Alma, and we hope that it will help us to improve it. Anyway, if we'll do zoom out, maybe zoom in, we'll find the sites. We'll find the sites from Sifrei Bamidbar. Here in the land of Israel, but as you can figure, most of them are concentrated in the land of Israel. But let's compare it to Genesis Rabbah. Let's add to our map Genesis Rabbah. Now we can see the differences between the geographical scope of Tanaitic composition like Sifrei Bamidbar to Genesis Rabbah. But what will happen if we'll add, let's say, Ecclesiastical Rabbah, Kohelet Rabbah? Let's try. We'll add now we have here in red ספרי במדבר, in green, Genesis Rabbah, and in blue or purple, Ecclesiastical Rabbah. Can we say that the geographical scope of Genesis Rabbah is much wider than Ecclesiastical Rabbah? Yes and no. Because as you all know, Genesis 10 is the table of nations. So we must bear in mind that Genesis Rabbah had to interpret the table of nations, while Kohelet Rabbah is the material which Kohelet Rabbah is interpreted is much more local. Anyway, we can see in red, Sifrei Bamidbar, in blue or purple, Ecclesiastical Rabbah, and in green, Genesis Rabbah. Let's add the archaeological finds. Meanwhile, it's the Tübingen Atlas. Let's add it. It's here, sorry. You can see in blue, in light blue, in azure, the archaeological finds. And you can compare what most of you know, that we have regions with massive archaeological findings and without mention in the literature, like in Asia Minor, like in Arabia, like in West Asia. And we can compare the archaeological findings to different sources, to the Tanaitic literature in one level and to the late Amoraitic Midrashim. So this is a tool. This is a tool, and we offer it to scholars and to the general public. And we hope that people will use it and will give us their remarks and their corrections. And we are at the beginning of the way. It's work in progress, but we hope that we can continue with this project. Dror, are you here?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
First of all, let me apologize for the super green location behind me. I'm in a location with okay, I'm in a car.
Uzi is in Umm el-Kanatir. You are in the south, and I'm in the middle. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, I found myself in a place with not cellular connection that keeps dropping, but we'll try. I want to add 3 points. One relating to the project itself, one relating to the place of computer guys in digital humanities, and one is a continuation of 2, but it relates to the fact that this is my last appearance as a member of the lab. And so let me begin with the first one. So there's a long roadmap ahead of this project, and the prospect is that the questions that that Alma will be able to handle will be of a more complex nature. More thematic questions, and actually my personal aspiration is to enable free text search on the sources and crisscross that with the locations that we can attach to each pasuk or each line in a source. This will enable us to show maps of thematic questions, such as can we map the the agricultural thematic aspect of one source versus another source, and questions of this type, or any other compound questions. Say you look for one thing that is a part of another one and build a more high-level compound query, and you can actually map this query, and this can lead to very interesting research queries and questions. And as Eyal mentioned, this is a tool for scholars and a tool for discovery, on top of other things. And people can actually go through lots of material relatively fast, things that would have required weeks and weeks of archival work can now be achieved in a matter of minutes, or, of course, if you know what you're looking for, or days. And this is this can enable the researcher to pass the phase of or to shorten the phase of wandering around and be more focused, in my opinion. So this is my first point. I'm very excited about this project, as it can be probably seen, and I'm relatively sad to leave the project. I will always be there on the background. So the second point has to do with the place of computer guys in this digital humanities field. And I've been working with Eyal for the last year and a half, and it took me a while because I'm not a Judaism focused student, and I'm not a religious Jew myself.
But you are Bachur Tov. But you are Bachur Tov.
I'm trying. So it took me a while, but there must be a really good connection, like matching between the scholar and the computer guy that he's matched with, because the motivation for the project, you have to think about ideas and you have to get into the material. So in a place like Elijah Lab, I think that the role of the administrators or the professors that run the lab, such as Moshe, is to find and pair these researcher and computer guy together. And this is like my takeaway of this project and other projects that I've been dealing with in the lab. So this is my second point. And my third point that actually relates to this second point is longevity, because, and this is a really crucial point in regards to academic projects in general, and especially in this field, because it is relatively difficult to find humanities focused students that has the expertise to assist in such a project. For example, in my history class, I think I'm the only one. This is not to say anything of myself, but just to demonstrate the situation. And now that I'm leaving this project, and we have to find someone to step in and make sure that this project will continue and will not stop. The choice of technology was super important, and I didn't know that I will be leaving this project so soon, but I have made the choice, the technological choices, with this thing in mind. So the technological stack here is super standard. It is composed of super standard backend technology and front-end technology, and to make it the easiest for the person to step in my shoes now and be paired with Eyal to continue on this project, and I'm really jealous of this guy actually, that the entrance would be easy, and that the prospects of this project to continue and not have this gap that sometimes happens in these kind of situations is larger. So these are my 3 points. This is also a very good opportunity to thank all the guys here and the Elijah Lab guys and everyone that I've been working with for the last 2 years. And I'm really sorry that this is the background here. And the communication is not the best, but it is how it is. And I will, of course, thank you in person when we get a chance. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Eyal. And that's it for me.
Okay, so thank you to Dror and Eyal for this interesting presentation. And Professor Lapin, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Eyal was kind enough to send me his notes on Friday, his slides on Friday. So I got a preview, although I was glad to be able to follow along with his searches because I found the search interface a little bit difficult to work with, just for, and those are things, and I'd be curious from a process point of view, I'd be curious to know what kinds of development you're interested in doing in terms of the front end, not only in terms of the back end. So I've been thinking since this morning started with geography papers that that I shouldn't be responding at all, but the people who spoke for me this morning, for you this afternoon, are the people who should respond, right? The people who've been working on digital gazetteers, who've been working on tracing travel paths. Those are, I think, the people who can really contribute to this conversation, and particularly at this very, very early stage. So I was glad to see that there is, a depth of sources and a sort of an expanding range of sources from the traditional to the archaeological. And the nice thing about the archaeological sources, one hopes, is that we get new ones, right? In a way that we don't necessarily expect new rabbinic works to appear, and we can't hope for the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Cairo Geniza to repeat itself. So there's that expansion of material. And I would love to be able to do certain kinds of things with it that Dror hinted at and that Eyal hinted at, but that are not necessarily there yet. And I'd like to, rather than me giving a long response, I'd like you to hear how those things are going to be implemented, because I think that is going to be what's most useful for me and for the other participants in this conference. So, for instance, I managed finally successfully to do a couple of searches, and then try to pull the results from the search, and the resulting data that I got back was just a list of place names, right? In fact, what I'm interested in, I did place names and geolocation and links to Pleiades, but not the fact that this is an archaeological artifact, or this is a place in the Mishnah, or this is a place in, or this is a place mentioned by Josephus or by Pausanias, right? And that, in a sense, is where some of the historical interest lies, in the ability to infer relationships between places, or infer the mental centrality of certain places in a cognitive map, right? The role of Jerusalem in Kohelet Rabbah is different than the role of Jerusalem in Josephus. Right, the place of these right? To be able to both assess on the basis of the results the centrality or the layout of a certain thing, the same way as Eyal did in his survey, comparing I think it was Sifrei Bamidbar or Sifrei Dvarim, I don't remember anymore, and Kohelet Rabbah and something else. I don't have it in front of me anymore. But that was terrific. But then I'd like to be able to do deeper queries. I'd like to be able to say, you know, if I were going to map the centrality of, you know, what is the most central place based on the number of citations, or the most central place in terms of the number of anecdotes that that are involved, right? How are these different? And can I compare? I mean, it's not your job necessarily to facilitate the actual comparison, but to pull out a data set that's rich enough that you can then use network software and use other kinds of things to do that analysis. I mean, if you wanted to build that in, that's great as well. But I'm not asking for, you know, special tools, right? But I think that's one of the things that was built into the work that Sinai talked about, and the work that Elton Barker talked about. It's built into Orbis, right? The idea that places aren't just points on a grid, but that they're actually shorthands for a whole bunch of things, which include memory and text and history and artifact. And the question is how we bring all those things together. How you envision bringing all these things together, because it's clear from the presentation that you do see this as where you want to go, right? Eyal mentioned at the very beginning, right? How to integrate archaeological finds. It's one of the things that was my question before I heard the presentation, right? Dror mentioned compound queries. I'd be curious to hear more about how you imagine this to be structured. And at that point, I'll just stop and let the speaker speak.
Eyal, do you want me to take this one?
Maybe I'll just show something and you can speak while.
Okay, so let me first speak about characterizing a source and the reference and the corpus and everything we touch. So Eyal showed on one slide our research assistant's interface. And what you could see there is an area which we call, for now, we call it tags. Okay, and you can tag anything. You can tag a resource, you can tag, excuse me, a reference, a source, and a corpus, and actually also a place. And you can say that this place, in the context of this reference, is mythical, okay? Or this place, in the context of this reference, relates to Eretz Israel flora. I don't know, anything. So in the end, which is, I guess, a few years from now, well, the end is, but when the data will be richer, then you will be able to run these very complex queries and get, you know, complex results on a whole sort of subjects. For now, the question is this location, the main questions that we asked, is this location real? Which is, does it relate to actual physical stuff that was in the time when this source was written? Is it mythical? Does it how it relates to Jews? But in the future, anything that any research assistant, or let me insert another thing here, any visitor to the site through a crowdsourcing mechanism, and which will be moderated. This is, you know, the vision. anything will be able anything will be tagged. And yeah, okay. Any visitor can tag any one of these, resource, source, place, corpus, etc. With anything that he or she wants. So this for the characteristic part, and the compound queries part is more like I always take the example of agriculture. So let's say I query for barley, okay, or wheat. Anywhere in the sources where wheat was mentioned. Now we know which location is attached to each pasuk, so we can say, okay, let's map it. Okay, if the wheat doesn't go on the specific pasuk where where we have a place attached to, we can look around it. Go one to the left, one to the right, two to the left, two to the right. There are algorithms for this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then you can look for another type of say barley. So we have wheat and we have barley, and then you can put it together. You can join it together to a compound query that we can now call agriculture. So this is on the in a nutshell, you say, I guess.
Thank you, Dror. I think this is a bit eschatological vision. It will take a few years. I hope that a much closer vision is this vision. Chaim, what you should have to do is just to click on the place. Mm-hmm. If you click on so, you'll get all the references and the sources about so, and also, and hopefully, if we fix it, also the archaeological findings that we'll have in Tübingen Atlas. Relating to the tagging, may I go back to the PowerPoint? We have here the table that we prepared that we
can't see the PowerPoint.
Oh, you don't see it, sorry. Sorry. Here, we have the table that which means Dror, prepared, that helps the assistants to tag the sources. And we are trying to find a way to tag them. We are on it now. We are now on it. We almost finished to map all the rabbinic literature, and we are trying to tag the sources in a way that can enable us to comparative research. May I add another thing? If we go back to Alma, I just want to emphasize another thing, that it's not only the Genesis Rabbah against the Kohelet Rabbah. We can find also here in the Mishnah, we can choose one of the Masechtot. Which one will should let's go to Eruvin. And I agree with you, it's too complicated. The interfaces should be simpler. I learned to use it fluently only at the end of the last week, I think.
If I can, I will add a word about this after you finish, Eyal.
Okay, thank you. And we'll compare it to, we'll try to compare it to Tosefta Archim. Tosefta, which one we choose? Eruvin. Let's look for Eruvin. Here's Eruvin. So we can also compare subcorpuses like Tosefta Eruvin to Mishnah Eruvin. And if you want to know something about the place, you just have to, you have to click just to click on the site and you can see what we have to say about the site. Dror, do you want to add something?
Yes, just a word about the interface. So this is a coming up with adequate interface for us to execute such queries. This actually relates to the first point I mentioned before. You have to know what you want to achieve, and this is a process, because it's an iterative process. You try something, and then you try something again, and you take this to Eyal, and you take this to another one, and you consult with professional designers if you need, and we are aware this interface is not anywhere near perfect, and we actually have this feedback button on the side, which Eyal may point. It's on the right, and if someone click it, so he can add a comment. He or she can add a comment, and we will keep learning the project, and I will probably be there on the background somewhere. So we'll keep learning and improving all the time, and the fact that the interface is not really comfortable right now is something that is known and handled.
Maybe
Okay.
I want to add something.
Yeah, well, we have a few minutes for questions, but I'll ask the first question. It seems to me that the main challenge here, Eyal and Dror, is tagging, because it means that each and every entry has to be tagged in terms of what does this refer. You showed at the beginning, let's say Aspamia. Okay, Spain. In Bereshit Rabba, אינו דומה דג העולה מעכו לדג העולה באספמיה. What does this mean? This doesn't refer to a Jewish community, it refers to a cognitive geography. What do they know? So you have to go to each and every entry and to tag it, and that needs a heavy load of professionals to deal with this kind of task.
Yeah, you're right. Unless we will have framework, all the mentions of places in the rabbinic literature, and all the mentions that are related to Jews in the early Christian and the Greco-Roman literature. So if we'll have this framework, we can clear what are we doing. Maybe. What? You're right. Now we are tagging, and this is one mission. Another mission is to explain why do we identify this place there. You know that Aspamia is in Spain, according to some scholars. According to Aaron Oppenheimer, Aspamia is in Babylon. Yes, Dror.
I will just add that if we can find research sources, such as we've been using Stern's Stern Stern index for the Greco-Roman literature, that we can integrate into Alma, and by that in an automatic process, enrich each source or each reference with the relative, say, tagging. That tagging is my term, yeah, but the relative information about this source or reference from this researcher, and once we find the relevant sources, it won't take too much effort to write a script that will do it.
So I'm going to jump in for just a second.
Any other questions? Hayim?
I just like a clarification, because I see how much tagging is going into it, and Eyal had pointed out which I knew that you can get all the references to the place in whatever body of literature we're talking about. But I'm curious whether that tagging is exposed to the researcher and at what stage that tagging is exposed to the researcher.
Good question. It's a good question.
Well,
I want to open everything. I don't have any reason to hide.
And it's not a question of hiding, it's a question of,
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it. It's a good
it
question.
takes us back to the lecture by Elton earlier today, and a certain kind of experience in similar projects that seems to exist in Greco-Roman literatures, and we need to learn a little bit from their experience. And I also guess that the direction that Dror implied at, in which some algorithmic procedures will help us to automatically produce some tagging with certain degree of probability and so forth. That would also be a direction that we will be able to take later on.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks again to the presenters. Moshe, do you want to conclude the conference, or?
Yeah, I think so. It's time to say thank you to everyone. It was a lovely day, a very long one, and I hope that we will find a way to have more conferences as this in the future. And also, I thank in the beginning to Eyal for initiating the conference, and to many people who made a lot of effort, the speakers, the responders, but also those who were in the committee and did all the technical work towards these days, especially when I wasn't very healthy. Yotvat, Sinai, Hadar, Vered, Eli Fisher, many people. So again, thank you everyone. And also another opportunity to say farewell, but not really goodbye, because we really hope that Dror will keep on being in touch with us, both professionally, but not less as a very good friend.
Word Yeshuv.
Dror has served, I think, about 3 years, if not even slightly more. And actually, Dror was also someone that I first met in one of our hackathons, and where he already did very similar job to the one you saw here, related to geo-mapping of Haifa in this evening about 3 and something years ago. So good luck in the high tech, but keep a warm corner in your heart for us. And thank you everyone for this great day. And I am looking forward to see you in other opportunities of our lab or any other context. Toda rabah and goodbye.
Toda, Moshe.
Bye.
So see you soon. Lehitraot.